got some people who are joining us in the chat. So that's good. So yeah, hi Luke from Newcastle University, welcome. Hi Nick. And so what I'd like to do is, if we've all seen the website, all the assets, all the collaterals on there. We'll put a link into the chat. And I'd like to say hello to Emmy, who I can see in my top right corner.
Hello.
Hi Emmy. Emmy, if you'd like to introduce yourself and introduce the demonstration or talk you want to give for 5 minutes, and then over to you.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, I'm a software engineer, and beginning of May I was furloughed and thought, well, I still want to do some coding, want to contribute to the to help during the COVID crisis. So I looked online to see if there were any sort of coding initiatives you could take part on, and found a link to a site called Frontline Live. And just registered my interest, and within 2 hours somebody came back. I got access to the Git repository, and it was that simple basically to get started, because they had already set up a website to aid with matching the PPE, which I'll get to in a minute, and they were looking to try and make it a little bit less hacky because they had to set something up really quickly. So to basically, instead of me talking, I've got a 1-minute video that explains exactly what it does and who it's for. So I'm going to try and share my screen and see if we can get that playing. Right, if you give me a shout when you can see this, my screen, or a wave. Excellent. Right, so we teamed up last week with Unite to try and also sort of promote that we're present, and basically made this video.
Frontline healthcare workers, you all deserve to feel safe at work. That's why we built Frontline Live, the world's first national map showing your real-time PPE needs. It gives you a voice and puts your needs on the map. It means that the companies and community groups that have PPE can get it to where it's needed. Fast. Report your need by tweeting a photo with 3 hashtags: Frontline Map, Work Postcode, and PPE Need. Or register anonymously at www.frontline.live. Suppliers are telling us what PPE they've got, and by looking at the frontline needs on the map, they can respond rapidly with the vital protection you deserve. If you're going into work without the protection you need to feel safe, put yourself on the Frontline map. Frontline Live is here to keep frontline heroes safe, not silent.
So that basically describes who it's for and what we do. And it's an initiative that was set up by Kat Keeley, and she's like a quite well-known digital entrepreneur, and she basically got very worried when she saw in the beginning of April and end of March how many people were struggling to get hold of PPE, and basically set this initiative up, found volunteers, and used initially the Ushahidi platform. I don't know if anybody has heard of that one. It's a crowdsourcing platform that was started in Kenya in 2008, and they started it to monitor post-election violence, so people could put where things were happening on the map really quickly. So it's a really good platform for getting something up really, really fast. And that formed the basis of collecting the where the needs were. And you can imagine that there's quite a lot of health institutions that normally wouldn't require this level of PPE and wouldn't sort of know where to get it from, particularly when everybody else wanted it at the same time. And there was a lot of suppliers retooling to provide PPE who normally wouldn't know where to distribute it to, what channels to go through. So she felt there was a need to put something up really quickly online where the people that needed PPE could say what they needed, and the people that could supply it could also advertise that they were supplying it now, whereas before they might not have actually produced that item. And also for community groups putting together PPE to publicise that they were there. So she got a lot of volunteers, because you couldn't just let people post anything on the map, because you wanted to make sure that it's genuine posts, they're genuine suppliers that are not out to do any fraud, because that obviously became an issue with people taking advantage of the crisis. So the volunteers would go through the post and then enter them into the system. And while they were doing that, they were checking up suppliers. And some suppliers needed a bit of help because they weren't sure whether their PPE met the required regulations. And at one point, they even had a contact out on the ground in China, checking up on materials that were used in the process, just to sort of make sure that they're doing people a favour, and not, it turns out that all the PPE wasn't appropriate and things like that. And also just help, because a lot of people needed multiple items of PPE, and not all suppliers can supply all of those. So that would be quite time consuming for the people who are caring to then try and chase up every individual thing. So there were plenty of volunteers doing that chasing up for them, and putting them in touch with suppliers and vice versa. So to also sort of publicise what was happening, they've teamed up with a few charities, and one of them is the Caregiving charity that raised funds using the rainbow stickers and posters. And it gave them also a platform of knowing where to send, because they were raising things for free, and obviously that needs to be distributed in a careful way. So the site, it's, as you saw in the video, it's just a map with posts. This is the old version. I joined when they were updating it, and it's going live. It could be going live as we speak, so you might all come crashing down now. We have got rid of the Ushahidi platform, mainly because it is quick to set up, but it's not very flexible. So we do have a proper sort of normal database back end now. That became apparent because we wanted to keep track of how we're doing in helping. Otherwise, you don't know. It looks nice, but it actually might do no good. So to be able to see which items of PPE that's been sort of helped with, it became, we needed more granularity than the Ushahidi platform could give us. So we've been doing that for the last 6 weeks. The needs requests have dropped, because once you've set up a supplier with somebody who needs they don't need the platform anymore. They can go on and order more if they need it. Things are changing, obviously, with more businesses opening up that might not have needed PPE in the past. So we will keep going to make sure that us dentists and physios, everything that's been a little bit on hold for the last few months, as they start opening up, they might need a bit of help as well. We're also looking at distributing this to other countries, but because it is a bit of a, anybody could set this up, but every government might not be keen to have this set up. And if you think back of how the NHS staff was asked not to talk about the PPE shortage, that is the case in a lot of other countries as well. So we're trying to do it. I think that some people in the group have contacted with the Indian government, and they're trying to sort of work their way up to the level where they can get permission to maybe launch this in India. And obviously Africa is another place where it might be a good, particularly with the distances they work with there, and the slight slower transport, to be able to see this, with the map and with people able to register quickly and easily. So yeah, that's so far there's been over 200 people registering their needs, and we got over 100 suppliers on the register. And yeah, that's it really. So if anybody's got any questions, I'm more than happy to try and answer them.
Thanks very much, Emmy. That sounds amazing, and exactly what Open Data Saves Lives is all about. I'm guessing that the code is all open and it's on a repo somewhere. I've just got a quick question. We'd like to put that on our Open Data Saves Lives page with a little bit of a description. So could one of our team be in touch with you just to put that video on and link it to our page so that more people can access it? Great.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Are there any other questions for Emmy? I've got some questions. How many people are in the technology team that put this up?
Well, I was quite surprised when I got in touch, and I realised it couldn't be that many when they wanted me to code within 2 hours of registering my interest. It turned out to be the guy, Ben Smith, he works for Agile Clarity. He's the one who sort of led the initiative to transform it from the quick hash of the did just to get it out there initially to something more stable and flexible and easier for the volunteers to work with, to update, because at the moment the map contains all the posts, but you want to kind of take away the ones that have been met, and that's quite a lot of work because they have to contact each institution to say, well, have the suppliers actually delivered, and if they have, they can then remove it. So we're trying to make that a lot easier for them. So it's basically me and Ben, and that's it really. But then there's lots of people doing other things, and a lot of people try, because it's the marketing that sort of, or PR, that's the biggie, because if people don't know that we're out there, they don't know where to register their need, and you know, there's no point doing it then.
Great stuff. We've got a quick question from Paul Clark from Beautiful Info. Are there any, what are you looking at other applications for this, or how it could be used? Or I'm sure lots of people are talking about the and question.
Sorry.
Yeah. Are there other applications for the technology or the application that you?
I think the Ushahidi platform, I had a quick look on their website, and that's been active during the COVID crisis quite a bit. People using it for various things, helping out with the, you know, just the volunteering side of things, registering into somebody needs shopping. But it's hard to tell because they don't link to all the projects that they have going on. Our site is obviously biased towards the PPE. The back end is all about, the database is all about the PPE. So you could tweak it to fit what you wanted, but it's like with it, once you do something custom, it depends on what, if you want something good that works really well, this is customized for that. So, but you could take the structure and transfer it to anything, you know, dog walking, you know, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I think I'm definitely a round of applause for the work you've done now, and also for what this platform's done. And I think it demonstrates how quickly we can do things, and how working in the open makes us able to respond much quicker, much faster.
And I should mention that there's a few I've just realised, because people have dipped in and out, and Jen as well has done a lot of the helping with the website, and then there's Ava as well. So I just forgot about those two, but Ben and I've done most of the coding bits.
Great stuff. So we'll catch up with you afterwards. We'll do a little write-up and open Essays Live's webpage. And round of applause. Thanks for joining. And now you're connected with us. Hopefully we'll be connecting more with you.
Yeah, no, it was good to volunteer. So I'm looking forward to doing more of that sort of stuff. It's fast and not a lot of bureaucracy, which is always nice.
Hooray! So next up, after that fantastic talk, we've got Nick from Leeds City Council, who got in touch with this week. I know a little bit about this, not much. So over to you, Nick. Let us know what's been going on.
Okay, thanks very much. Hello, everybody. I'll just share my screen, and hopefully, is that coming through for everybody?
Yes, we've got your desktop.
And you should hopefully see Health and Social Care map.
Yes, we can see that.
Lovely. And that was great, Emmy. And I had a couple of questions. I'd certainly like to pick up on the work you've done, but hopefully I can see some synergies of what I'm going to demonstrate and share in there. So, sorry, that's the only reason I didn't ask a question. Basically, my name's Nick Stevenson, and I'm a Senior Project Officer in Adults and Health. And background is I got involved about 4 or 5 years ago in major events, planned events in the city of Leeds. So things like your triathlon, Tour de Yorkshire, the Carnival, Chapeltown Carnival, where we have to plan business continuity. So as events pass through a you know, past a GP or past a care home, a way of identifying what services were potentially impacted, let them know, etc. And this map, version 5 of it, as it says, is basically the work over the last 3 years as we've gone through the events and worked with colleagues across the council. And yeah, I'd basically just like to do a demonstration of sort of 3 key functions of the map and show the data behind it. And sort of, you know, how can it be developed, etc. Because a lot of what I'll show you now is manual, so it's opportunities for automating and developing. So basically, make the map full screen. On the left-hand side, you've got your navigation functionality. The right top corner here, you've got your data I'll come to. And at the bottom here, you've got what they call the attribute table. The software you're looking at is Esri, and I believe Esri is a partner of ODI Leeds, as one of the members of ODI, sorry, of the ODI Institute. And we use it with this, all Esri products. Everything you're looking at is public data, publicly available, and it uses AGOL software, the AGOL online Esri mapping software. So in terms of functions, you've got bookmarks, etc. We've got our view of the city. 3 key things I'll show. One is there's a key thing is finding where an event is. So if I add a postcode here, it's going, you can make the software look at different things. We've made it look at the postcode checker. This is working with colleagues in Leeds Observatory. So if I click on that, this is linked to the data we have of all our wards, MSOAs, LSOAs. So that comes from Leeds Observatory colleagues, but what we've done is then complement it. So if someone was to ring up the contact centre or to say, I live at X, where's the, you know, how am I impacted? Or staff in the businesses can use it. It is very much seen as something for health and social care staff. And then they see which area they're in, etc. But we would know which team, our social work team, that we need to refer to, or etc. So once you know the location, the next key feature is, well, what's around the location? So around the event. And there's a great feature in Esri in AGOL called Near Me. So if I click that widget, it then gives me 2 options. And the first option is I can set my location. So I know the postcode. I can then click on the set location widget, click on the map, and it will put a bullet point and it sets that the location. Now it's currently defaulted to 0 miles, which I'll come back to, but basically if I then, you can have this in 100 meters, 200 meters, you could have it in 50 miles. I've set it 1 to 5 miles because within an event, if it's a point or around a, you know, an event, you want to know generally with what falls within a mile. And if I turn on the legend there, basically everything is synchronized. So underneath, it tells me how many services are within a mile. Down the legend, that is synced to what's within the circle, and the attribute table at the bottom tells me there are 7 care homes, for example, sorry, Forum Central Older People Services. We know what Leeds Community Services, we know Leeds Council buildings. So there's 18 buildings within that area. What we can now do is, if I wanted to contact those council buildings or know more about them, final thing I can do is go to options and I can export. So that tab of data, those Leeds City Council buildings, if I clicked OK, it would be saved. Essentially, we do that and we then do it as a mail merge. So we might mail people and say there's an event. But if I want to focus on, say, pharmacies, for example, this is where there could hopefully potential of, you know, with Emmy's work, you can filter it down and just show me the pharmacies. Again, notice all the data table changes, it all disappears and it's synchronized that now I'm just looking at pharmacies. And finally, I can then go and look within the pharmacy of the information. All the information you're looking at here, we download from NHS Digital basically once every 3 months and we refresh it. Finally, then I can say, right, that's the pharmacy, what's within a mile of the pharmacy, and you can hop around the city like that sort of thing. You can go and it will do the same function. Second key thing is though, but I don't want to point, I want to find services within an area. And we've done some work with Covered on this. And the Near Me feature lets you put in what geographic areas you want to search by. So for example, I'm in Chapeltown area, I just put CHA and I can find the postal areas, the postcode checker, what streets are within. So it's just looking at where CHA is in. But if I say the electoral ward, Chapel Allerton, I've been asked how many services are in Chapel Allerton ward, then that's another functionality. It does the same. As you notice, I've got 2 lines. This is why we default it to 0 for this purpose. So it will only look at what falls within the boundary, and it will whir away, as I say. And then again, it will show all the services. So the final part is, that's great. I know the point. I know what's in an area. But over here, we have all the different data that we can access. So if I close that down, in terms of our operational need, we want to know where our operational services are as adult social care. So there, in terms of a map of Leeds, is where our adult social care is. We've been working with Pip Goff and colleagues at Forum Central. We've got now Forum Central locations, and we've got all charities from the Charity Commission. We've then obviously worked with CQC. I can turn all that data on, and this for me is the power of it. The maintenance, yes, the back office is how do you do all this, and that is the maintaining. That's the key thing I wanted to bring to this group is, well, what's the automation? But there's all the NHS, etc. So if I do that same search now, having switched everything on, it is a massive data. Let it settle down, but that's what's within LS7 and around that postcode. We also have all the boundaries, as I said, we could search by, and this is where I can go in and I can select, and this is where we started with. So there's our triathlon route. That's the triathlon route when it settles down, sorry. So there's our triathlon route, and that's what all our care workers and health workers have to negotiate each year, just like they have to negotiate the Tour de Yorkshire, etc. And then we can see which areas are blocked out for parking. You with me? Where parking may be restricted, etc. So we can show all that sort of data there, those areas. And then the final bit is then, well, what falls within that area? The final widget, which we use a lot, is the select function. And this is where I'm taking a gamble, but let's see, because it should work. Let's trust the technology. And I can go around the area. I can say, right, there's the event. That's what I'm interested in. We do this for community committees, other things, double click, and hopefully, there you go. And it worked. Trust the technology. And I can then see, right, within that, there's 34, there's 27 CQC, there's 29 GPs. And finally, I can do the same thing with this widget. I can now export that data to CSV. I can save it. I can do what I want with it. But basically, we've identified who's potentially impacted by the event. We've got all the data, and we can select it. So in summary, I see this as something that we've developed very much with service providers, service managers, staff. All the widgets, the reason I explain the widgets in the detail, the idea is the postcode checker element, etc. you could go and have on your mobile phone, for example. So the idea is that you can just have the postcode and you can just find what's within a mile. That works as a separate app, and we've created that for mobile use. But otherwise, you know, it's just key for us finding health and social care in relation to the city. And thank you. That's the demonstration.
Yeah, thanks very much, Nick. So I've got a question, and there's a question in the chat. Just how, in terms of COVID and the emergency response, having this asset and data asset available, how has that helped?
Well, we've used it for volunteers. So, for example, what's great on it is the sort of triangulation. So, for example, colleagues set up getting food vouchers and identifying people. So when they contact the council, they may need a telephone call. So putting a volunteer in terms, so you can find the location of the person who's needing support. If I turn this element on, this is where we're at as well with learning how we can use this. We can then have allow people to feed back. But yes, they can find the volunteer, they find where the person, they can identify where the volunteer is, who's going to deliver the food, and then they can triangulate that way, you with me, to get the service to people. Yeah. What this widget allows you to do is there's a feature where Smart Editor, and you can add data and you can input, so you could make it interactive with the volunteers. But also like for finding PPE, etc., locations of care homes. So that's what it's been offered for, and we're just, we're providing support when people come to us and say, can you find all the supermarkets in Leeds? Yeah, we've worked with colleagues from the Gazetteer, and we've got the locations of supermarkets, added it as a layer to the map, and created a bespoke. This is called a web app, web map. We've got a main map in the background that I maintain with all these different layers on, and you're seeing the full, full show as the desktop. We then just took what they wanted for the mutual aid. You with me? We just said, right, there's the supermarkets, there's the locations of what care homes, everything else that they wanted, and we created a bespoke map for them. And that, to me, I've just done one for colleagues in CCG where they wanted to see the care homes. So again, I used the core data, created a care home map, and I just added the layers that they wanted. And they now, but what they wanted, was very much the boundaries and this near me feature of they wanted to know which care homes were within which local care partnership and primary care partnership, if you're with me. So,
cool. So Nick, just on the, you're on Open Data Saves Lives, so there's a great question in the chat here, which is this just for internal use, or could citizens use it, or could we make it open?
It's for 3 years. It's been shared with the whole health and social care family, as I call it. So I'm worked with colleagues within the resilience team for the city. So for the planned events, hopefully GPs, all providers know about it. You with me? We use it and we share. And like with the demonstration of the triathlon route, we will put on the route of, say, the Chapeltown Carnival, and then the week before the event we share it. So that's why it's all public. So yes, and with colleagues, Hannah, I think's on the call, and that's where we've talked internally. But yes, everything, and the next stage is how can we develop it and take it from what it was originally used. The main issue is the links to the APIs. That's the main development requirement from my point of view, is linking up to NHS CQC so that the data is refreshed. Are you with me? But yeah, very much. The other thing though, just on that, sorry.
This is really great. So people talk about when they were NHSD, they built something but not quite as good. The question in the chat about basically this is how do we make it a little bit more open? So is this on a URL, the map?
Yes. So if I just minimize, show you the full. So this is the URL for our goal. Just on that, what we've developed internally with Esri is there's a new product called Portal, and Portal is locked down just for people with the Leeds City Council or respective organisation. So what I could do now is I can go to my maps, I could bring you up the same data but with an operational view. And so, for example, the public get that post, when I put the postcode in, it goes, and so the public could see which is my talking point, which is my housing office. Contact centres could say, look, your neighbour, you need to go to that neighbourhood network, or you want to go to that. So very much I see it as open data and something that people will use. the lesson we've learned, from doing the business continuity and the event management is, if people use it for the good times, then hopefully it will be also for like times we're in, you with me, when there is an emergency, because they'll be used to using it. So we do have two worlds now where when you use the postcode feature though, just to finish that point, we can include internal office numbers. Are you with me? So the contact center staff would be able to say, oh, I'll put you through to the office, or I'll drop them an email because they'll have the office email account. Are you with me? So that hopefully brings the private, are you with me, the operational and the public world.
You're stimulating lots of conversation here, Nick. So there's a you might have missed, there was a session we did on geography, and obviously we all know how geography is interesting, let's call it that, interesting in the UK. And have you thought about using, Peter Wells has got a question in the chat, which is, have you thought about using OpenStreetMap as the to power this as well? Because then other people can contribute and we then get a community asset that anyone can access.
100%, and that's why my is open. Mapbox, OpenStreetMap. I love OpenStreetMap as my base map. I use the grey one because the dots and the locations show up better. But very much, yes, then when I zoom in, my point would be that we can see all that, you with me, local data, and we don't need to add it again. And how can one complement the other? So with respect, I'm duplicating dots, you with me? We'll have two pharmacies, one OpenStreetMap and one, but ours is to complement the other with, when we click on our link, it may be something that we're wanting to share about the event. So I'm seeing, but yes, very much, if we know something's wrong, or our staff, how, you know, and so I see this, and going back to Emmy's point of how do you maintain the data, I'm bringing this to the table as well, and I've talked with colleagues and my management of, I see this as a volunteering thing of going out into the OpenStreetMap, and why can't I live in Bradford, work in Leeds, why can't I develop and, you with me, contribute? And that's where, just to finish that point, I see the key partners of, obviously, the council, yourselves linking with NHS and the colleagues. Esri, obviously, I know they're commercial, but then OpenStreetMap, bring them together, and then share through Google. And that's where I've talked with Hannah, Open Data Mill. To me, it's just helping another way of bringing it together.
So I think this is going to stimulate. There's a question from Stuart. So Stuart's built, we've got, ODI Leeds has got a mapper, which is similar, and we get asked, can we put data on a map? And we've created a tool which takes data out of all of the northern open data publishers, and if it's published in the right format, we can put it on a map. So if it's in geodation, it's on the map. And then Stuart's got a question which says, could you create a link to a specific view where the layers you're talking about are already loaded?
That will be my, how do we do that? That would be my net, and that's
well,
where
maybe we can help.
You with me.
Well,
that's where I'm asking for help of, and that's where I would defer to Hannah and colleagues, you with me as well. My point, my understanding of that is what we've done internally just on the data, because if the data is not stored and you with me, the metadata, I'm not technical with respect, I'm frontline operational, I'm just wanting to get around the city, you with me. So with respect, I'm not a developer, I'm not a coder. That to me, I just want it to hopefully at the front end. So it's the front end operational, you with me? I can do in 5 minutes what used to take a couple of hours. That's my point. But finishing just that point, the links to, yes, but what we've learned to do internally, I store hopefully all the data, we upload it, we've learned how to do the shape files, we load it up into Esri, we've done it corporately, and we've got the schema so that we save all the data that hopefully, James, whoever asked the question, that yes, my understanding is we should now be able to point A at B, are you with me? And they should talk to each other. So we've tried to create all the structures as we've gone along, that when we upload a new, we're doing it, you with me? And we're doing it within the mapping software itself. So we make the changes on the feature layer, as it's called, and we've learned that over the last couple of months with COVID, of not doing it in the back and uploading it each time. What we've learned is we can do it all in the system, and then hopefully that means any changes are more direct. But we're not looking at making any changes here with respect. We're looking at just finding CQC, NHS, and knowing we already should know where these buildings are, etc. You with me? We're just talking about bringing it in.
I think a lot of people have realised that the data infrastructure just isn't there, and the questions they thought could be answered aren't there. And let's look at the positives. So this is a great demonstration, and I think there's lots of people would like to follow up with that. So as with Emmy, what we'd like to do is just create a little note, send it around to everyone who's been involved with Open Data Saves Lives, and the real world application of what we're talking about is definitely something that we're all about here. And then Mark makes a point, is that I'm guessing could we bring in the test data, and could this be used to drive a track and trace service for Leeds or other places?
Sorry, yeah, I mean, personally, I can do it. I can do this for whole of England now, everything functionality, and that's where I'm discussing with the ESRI community, so that I don't see why, for example, bringing in the open data, etc. It's just not on ESRI's Atlas, Living Atlas. You with me? And that's where I'm talking on the community. How do we bring it in? Then it can be shared. So, okay. You know, yes, then as with Emmy, hopefully, you know, and that's why I'd be interested in talking to Emmy on the mapping software they use. I don't see that it matters if it's open data or if it's Google, we just share it and Google can use. You with me? And, you know, whichever platform you're on, that's where my thinking's at the moment, and we can do our operational and our more, you know, what we need to do as a health and social care business. Yeah. We then obviously we've got our own internal. This is just what we want everybody to see and be aware of. So yeah, links with traffic management sites. There's some good traffic management sites out there that, you know, we can link in with, I think, as well. So yeah. I suppose another thing just to say on the ESRI is it does have excellent functions for doing editing, of allowing, which again Emmy's doing, of people feeding in, you with me, updates like you're saying, Emmy, about when care homes, what have you got, and the stock. So I can click, you know, you could have the care homes, for example, that we've got and we know, and we cross-reference everything with our internal commissioning. So, you know, it has been an internal review of the data before we publish it, but it is still just public. But yeah, you can then say, well, the care home name is X, it's got, you know, this location. You then could have 3 or 4 edit fields underneath, so that, you know, apparently they used it for doing like the tree surveys where people could go with the mobile, stand next to a tree. You with me? That very much that instant thing, and all those applications in it, the smart edit feature, and as soon as you've hit send, it will appear on the map when it's refreshed, which I think is the mobile version of when people are out and about at events, or you with me? So like with Emmy, linking up and being able to say, yeah, staff have, you know, want to contribute this.
So my ambition on all these sessions is to try and finish them within 45 minutes. And we're
sorry,
but you've generated a load of questions. There's lots more questions about.
Apologies, I can't see the questions. I'm new to Zoom, and so apologies. I've been trying to.
The chat.
Yeah, I'm in the. So apologies there.
If you look at the Zoom group chat, but there's more about what licenses we're using, how we're geocoding care homes. Is it building level or postcodes? I think, as always with Open Data Saves Lives, that things emerge. There's a definite user. There's a session now about, and please jump in, especially Peter, who's there, about the specific application of open data and existing tools for responding to the crisis, and how the combination of open data to answer questions and reducing all the friction around it. So I think I'm seeing a follow-up sessions come on this, where we might look at how, if the institutions were publishing open data, how places and other institutions could respond using that data with the tools that already exist, rather than create something new. And which is basically what I'm taking away from this, is that it already exists, but then also how do we make some of this a bit more open? And there's a lot of learning we've done at ODI Leeds, and I can see that Dan Cookson's on the line, so he's done a lot of work with planning and presenting and visualizing data, that the ecosystem exists. And why should UNIC do this in Leeds when it can be equally applied to Bradford and Kent and Carlisle and Cornwall? We need to do this once rather than 242 towns, however many local authorities we've got. I can't remember the exact number. You do this upper tier or lower tier, or what geography do you work at? So doing it in the open makes it much easier to find friends and work collaboratively. So I'm going to draw that to a line, but would anyone like to make a point or of the two sessions we've had? If you've joined us a bit later, you'll see that myself and Amy have got our new Northern Lands backgrounds on. Our session, we've got a conference held jointly with the Kingdom of the Netherlands on the 6th and 7th of July, Monday and Tuesday. And Open Data Saves Lives forms a big part of that. So on Monday the 6th, we've got 2 to 2.5 hours of online sessions about open data, health, social care, and also the response to COVID. So we're going to take a break next week and the week after from these sessions, but we're going to be in touch with everybody about what they want to do next with it, how they'd like to stay involved, and also direct you to hopefully sign up for the Open Data Live session at the Northern Lands Summit. We're quite excited about that. We're doing all we can to make it as easy for attendees to join, and it's not just a replication of an in-person summit. It's a real online bespoke summit. So please have a look at that, and we'll be following up with you. So whilst I've been talking, hopefully you've been thinking about questions. Would anyone like to make any final points? And then I've got my ambition of having my lunch in the sun.
There was Terry who made a suggestion of a quick discussion point for this session. I think he was able to join us this morning. I think it was in relation to, it kind of harks back to the geography session we did in the Geospatial Commission. I'm just wondering if Terry's available, if he wants to just quickly turn his microphone on and just explain a bit of context about the discussion he wanted to raise.
Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, I'm on there. Sorry I'm late to the table this morning. I have just one question to ask, which will unlock a lot of issues that we're discussing, and that is the ODI engaged at all with the Geospatial Commission? And were any representatives in attendance, I think it was last Tuesday, not yesterday, in the room of 600 people?
So I can speak for ODI Leeds here, is that we've made some comments and representations to the Geospatial Commission, but we're not involved at all really in that. I do know that Jenny Tennyson and Lee Dodds at ODI HQ have both contributed to that. We're not, as far as I'm aware, I don't think either ODI Leeds or ODI HQ are formally involved in the Geospatial Commission. We're trying to influence and put them in the right direction, but we're not involved in the formal process, no.
Okay, fine. Thanks for that. I've written to Jenny, and I hope she'll come to that particular question. But I think it's vital that ODI do become involved. As Nick pointed out, geospatial information is absolutely critical to managing.
Yeah.
And of course the impacts of climate change, so we've got that going forward.
Terry, can I just interrupt there? I don't know if there's something wrong with your microphone, but it's at the bottom of a well with the fan going on at the same time.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what I can do. Okay.
Okay, maybe if you could just drop us a line, but yeah, we welcome your support about how we respond to the geospatial. Okay. Good. So I think that was another great session for Open Data Saves Lives. Please do join us at the Northern Lands Summit for the Open Data Saves Lives sessions. Ben Goldacre is going to be talking with myself and Mark Farr, and we'll hopefully have some very stimulating conversations there. ODI HQ, I'm doing a little bit of a half-an-hour segment, which is more of a TV program we've got there. We've got some fantastic talks from the Netherlands about the innovation that they've got over there, and lots to learn from them and how they've approached potentially specifically COVID. And so if there's no other conversations I'd like to say thank you to our speakers. It was great. And we'll be putting those up on the Open Data Saves Lives page so we can all use and share that in the future. So if that's it, thanks very much. Thanks, everyone.